No, I care. I haven't been here in like months, man.
Feelings, right? No,
I don't know what to say. It's awkward.
Get in there and apologize.
Come on, bro, please, just
make something interesting. I don't care. I don't. Stop. Alright, Blazing Bacon, you gotta think of something that'll get your viewers interested in you, something popular, so a topic that fits the topic of your channel, and something that makes you popular. Okay, think. The Super Mario movie. So Super Mario seems to be quite the heavy discussion as of it coming out on April 5th, 2023. And since I've been under this rock the whole time, hiding from my apparent pregnant wife, I really don't know a lot that's going on in the world. But even while being here, even people like me have heard the news of the incredible success of the Super Mario movie. Or for anyone that watches 40-second TikToks for the whole day and has the attention span of a goldfish, the peaches, yeah, that one. Now, if I'm just being honest here, if you told me that taking Illumination, Super Mario, and Chris Pratt would make a movie that is literally shitting on the competition at the moment, I would. From the report so far as of the recording of this video, the Super Mario movie has gained well over $1.1 billion worldwide and has now become one of the top 5 highest grossing animated films ever and Illumination's best performing film out of their entire catalog, even beating titans like The Lion King and Frozen. And right now is on board to becoming one of the best selling animated films ever. It came out a couple months ago. And while there are people praising the movie and singing its graces, and others who are a little bit more critical of the film, talking about its admittedly pretty bad pacing and Cranky Kong.
What makes you think you're worthy of fighting alongside the greatest army in the world?
One thing is pretty clear, and that is that this direction that Nintendo and Illumination are going in is definitely in the right direction. And so with that, we're not going to be talking about this movie whatsoever. Well, we're kind of going to talk about it, but it's not the focus of the video. Now, there's already plenty of videos about the Mario movie itself that goes through a lot of the different answers you may have about it, but there could be questions that may pop up in the average gamer's head. And with the insane success of this one, a big question that may come to your head when thinking about it is, why hasn't Nintendo done this sooner? Which in itself is a good question. Nintendo owns some of the most iconic franchises in gaming and has literally been around for decades. So why haven't they done more films starring the all-star lineup that they have? Especially with Mario, their poster boy. Well, gamers and gameritas, the answer is simple. They have. It was just really scattered throughout their history. Kind of weird, honestly. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, I know where you're going with this, Blazing Bacon. And no, I'm not talking about that one. In fact, get that one out of here. As much as I would love to talk about the 1993 edition and talk about how this movie was horrible and was a catalyst for Nintendo not releasing much in terms of films featuring their main franchises, I won't lie, there's probably people who are better at explaining it that have covered the movie to death. Plus, you guys know the story at this point. So with that being said, where do we go from here? Well, gamers and gameritas, what if I told you that there was a Mario movie that came out before the 1993 Super Mario movie and predated it by a significant margin, was co-produced by Nintendo, so it wasn't just some rip-off or spin-off of Mario, and on top of that, had some beats and patterns that not only was in future games, but also had some aspects to it that I believe are similar to the 2023 Super Mario movie that came out decades later that we see today. Yeah, now I got your attention. Today, we talk about the Super Mario movie that you actually have never heard of. To start this off, we have to first talk about the Japanese animation industry, or as it's known to the average American, anime. Now, believe it or not, the industry and the Super Mario franchise have had quite the on and off relationship up until recently. It seems that especially in Japan, which makes sense since that's the country of Super Mario's origin, has had quite the interesting amount of films and shows that nobody really talks about or probably even knows. Now, as you can probably tell, these films took place during the extremely early stages of the Super Mario Bros. Franchise, with only the first couple of titles existing. And because this was during the time where Mario wasn't as solidified as he is now, Nintendo seemed way more lenient to experiment with the plumber in different ways back then. And just to prove that I'm not a liar and a fraud, I'll be showing you some examples of some Mario shows that you probably have never heard of either. Now, we always hear about the 1993 Mario movie, but did that movie have Mario holding a gun? I didn't think so. Enter in Armada anime series Super Mario Bros., a 3-episode OVA series featuring the iconic Mario characters in the style of 3 popular Japanese folktales: Momotaro, Isshunboshi, aka the 1-Inch Man, and the most Japanese show of them all, Snow White. This set of episodes came out in Japan on August 3rd, 1989, and featured the classical stories with the main characters being replaced by Mario characters. On top of that, these stories all had some interesting premises that made them stand out, though I'm not too sure if it copies the original story to a T, since I'm not an expert in Japanese folktales and Snow White. The other thing to mention was that this was made by a company known as Studio Junio, a company that, fun fact, was responsible for 7 episodes of Batman the Animated Series, worked with Toei on 3x3 Eyes, and even did the illustration work for Punch-Out on the Wii. This wasn't the only piece of Mario media that Studio Junio took part in creating, as they also indulged in quite a few other pieces that were distributed in Japan. Except this one appealed to a certain demographic, the kiddies of the land. That's right, even the kids got a taste of the Mario. What? Who wrote this script, man? Wait, who wrote this script? That is so weirdly worded. What's wrong with y'all? For example, we have Super Mario Fire Brigade, a show created by Toei Animation and outsourced to Studio Junio, and also came out in the same year as Armada anime series Super Mario Bros. Now, what's interesting about this film is that it wasn't primarily made for entertainment purposes like the other Mario films, but instead as a public service announcement for fire safety geared towards the kids in Japan. The general premise of the film involves 2 sisters, an older sister named Kaoru and a younger sister named Tatsuya, who go from playing Super Mario Bros. 3 to lighting a garbage dumpster on fire as they're trying to light fireworks. Mario and Luigi... the firefighters notice this and talk to them about fire safety and basically lay out the do's and don'ts of when there's a fire present, with such great advice like always having a bucket of water ready at all times and that fire's a demon or something. Like, golly, man, I don't know, but these firefighters seem like they're trying to give these girls nightmares or something. Like, why would you say that? After an earthquake that happens later that night, the firefighters save a woman and her child from a fire in which the crowd cheers for them. Then the girls come up to them and tells the firefighters that they'll never play with fire ever again. Peak fiction, boys. Peak freaking fiction. Now, overall, there's not much information as to why this film was made or anything, and the same would apply with the other PSA film that we know they made for traffic safety, accurately called Super Mario Traffic Safety. If you looked up Mario Lost Media in the dictionary, this film would definitely be in there. Now, there are things we do know about the film, such as the basic premise of the movie and a few clips that were fortunately uploaded to prove their existence, but the full video has never seen the light of day as of the recording of this video. As said before though, we do know the contents of what the PSA was about. The video itself is about a boy and his sister, and their mom who tells him to go to her shop before she leaves. The boy, playing Super Mario Bros. 3, because apparently no other Nintendo game exists, gets so invested in it that his sister has to go out without him, where she meets Bowser for the first time. The boy finally realizes that his sister's missing and leaves to look for her, but while doing so, almost gets run over by Mario's car. Probably should have finished the job. While all this is going on, the girl's reunited with her family, but then runs into Bowser again. After calling the police, Bowser tries to run away, but almost gets hit by a car himself until Mario kicks him out the way of the car. Then there's basically a transition to different safety tips like don't talk to strangers, and always look both ways, and subscribe to Blazing Bacon for very consistent content, all of which you should follow to this day, especially that last one. From what I understand, this PSA video in particular was only released in the form of VHS tapes that the schools provided for the children to watch. So, as I said before, this was considered lost media, with only some footage of the video remaining proving its existence. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these PSA videos existed for different topics, but has unfortunately become lost media. Now, all this is fine and dandy, but our main topic today predates all of this, which, as you can tell from how lost this is a miracle considering when it came out, and I think it's finally time to reveal what that movie is. So, gamers and gameritas, the Mario movie that we're going to be covering today is Super Mario Bros. Peach Hime Kyoshutsu Dai Sakusen. I am so sorry. I promise you. I'm sorry. I'm a disgrace. So, for anyone who may not know what this movie is, this piece of media was an official Nintendo movie that, as I've said before, predates all of these other Mario shows that we've talked about already. Coming out on, get this, July 20th, 1986. Just to put that into perspective, at the time this came out, Super Mario Bros. The Lost Level was pretty much fresh off the presses, coming out on June 3rd, 1986. And the original Mario Bros. Was also pretty new, only coming out on September 13th, 1985. So little to say, a full-length Super Mario Bros. Movie coming out during this time, at least to me looking back on it, is very surprising. Now unfortunately, there's not much concrete statements about the background of how and why the movie were created in the first place, but another reason for this very early produced movie could be because of the creator Shigeru Miyamoto and his overall goal for Mario to surpass Mickey.
Oh gosh.
Yep, that guy right there. When Miyamoto first created Mario and his first game sold incredibly well, his ultimate goal to create a character that could both rival and even surpass Mickey Mouse didn't seem like a crazy thought in his head. Quote, upon joining Nintendo in 1977, Miyamoto spent much time trying to get his creations reviewed in magazines. After his popularity skyrocketed on the backs of Mario, the creator's alter ego, and his pet Donkey Kong, Miyamoto started viewing Mickey Mouse not just as a source of inspiration, but also as a goal. Could Mario become as universally admired as the ultimate embodiment of pop culture? End quote. So I can imagine once Miyamoto saw the successes that Mario had earlier on, he wanted to capitalize in as many ways as he could, then excitingly saw the opportunity to make a Mario movie and took that chance. This brings us nicely into the company that was mainly responsible for this film, which you would think after all the other films we talked about would be made by Studio Junio. But nope. The studio responsible was Grouper Studios, with this movie actually being their debut since the company started in 1986. It's so weird in retrospect seeing how Nintendo trusted a movie company that just started up with their future mascot franchise, because that definitely ain't happening nowadays. You're gonna need a full list of accomplishments before you can even breathe on any Nintendo character. Anyways though, going into the specifics about the people behind the scenes, the movie itself is directed by Masami Hata, written by Hideo Takayashiki, and produced by both Masakatsu Suzuki and Tsunemasa Hatano. Now you, fellow gamer, who most likely had no clue that this movie even existed, are probably feeling a sadness deep inside that my stupid ass had to be the one to tell you about the existence of this movie. But don't worry, it's actually not your fault. For once. I say this for a couple of different reasons. One of those being that this movie wasn't distributed outside Japan in any capacity, since the company that distributed the film, Shochiku, doesn't do any of that distributing malarkey. Now combine this with the fact that even in Japan, the movie was apparently screened only in Shochiku theaters, alongside the VHS releases it had being rental only, meaning that you would have to give the VHS back after a certain time, and thus you have the formula for this movie being one of the rarest pieces of Mario lore ever, with some even labeling it as the Mario movie that time forgot. See? I told you the title wasn't clickbait. And believe it or not, the movie would be the first to feature some aspects that Nintendo would actually use in their future Mario games, something we'll talk about later on. Either way though, let's go ahead and get into the actual contents of the movie itself. Now to start off, we have to remember that this came out in the year 1986, with only 2 Mario games to really go off of, so there wasn't much in terms of what would work for an hour-long movie featuring Mario. Also keep in mind that Super Mario Bros. The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach was actually one of the first film adaptations for a video game movie, since this was during the time where games didn't really have that much story substance to create an hour-long plus film over. The only other film to be adapted during this time was Running Boy Star Soldier no Himitsu, based on the game Star Soldier, which, and I'm not even kidding, was apparently released on the exact same day. Also, I'm gonna let y'all know right now, I'm not calling this movie Super Mario Bros. The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach every single time, so instead we're gonna shorten it to Super Mario GM. Yep. Super Mario Good Morning. So, in order for such a simple premise to be interesting, there had to be certain creative liberties taken, with there even being new characters created that have just never been brought up again. And speaking of characters, there was also quite a few changes done to the reoccurring cast as well, with some of them having significantly different personalities and even looks compared to what they are now. Once again, this was because the characters weren't as established then as they are now, with this even being Bowser's debut of speaking. So honestly, pretty much the whole cast were just blank slates. Mario, I would say, is the most similar in terms of personality compared to nowadays. He wanted Peach's cheeks in 1986, and he wants Peach's cheeks now in 2023. Never give up on your dreams, kids. Nah, but he is slightly different, where he acts more as your everyday kind of guy, even more so than in the 2023 movie, that ends up being an unexpected chosen one that Peach summons to rescue her. He's mostly a goofball who stumbles upon trouble, but is very quick on his feet and can get himself out of pretty much any obstacle with a little luck. Actually, a lot of luck, which you'll see when we get into the movie. Either way, Mario takes it upon himself to get into the Mushroom Kingdom to save Princess Peach, which, speaking of, is also very similar to how you think a typical damsel in distress character would be written in 1986, being someone who calls on Mario to help her from getting married to Bowser. Nope, badass Peach doesn't exist today, boys. We have Mario Tuscany. Jeez. While she has a moment or two here and there, for the most part, she's probably the least interesting character in the movie. But honestly, because she has very little screen time to really be fleshed out like that. Honestly, the Peach back then was very different to the parkour Peach we see in the 2023 Mario movie.
I do parkour.
What do you do?
I do parkour.
You do?
I do parkour.
Get it!
Next up, we have Bowser, who once again was for the most part a complete blank slate when it comes to the approach. Now, Bowser is a character that you can really mold into whatever archetype of villain you want. He's like really spiky, crusty, old Play-Doh with hot breath. In this movie, they depict Bowser way more on the goofier end, with the intimidation factor only really being apparent in the first couple scenes when he enters in. And he goes from that to this. Also, his voice is it's a voice. Nothing compared to our studly mad lad, Jack Black, with his performance. But his voice in Super Mario GM definitely goes with more of the goofy persona, so it fits pretty nicely. The one thing I will say though is that this kind of makes him seem like not too much of a threat, but it's not a make or break thing, just an observation for me watching it. Now, I would say out of all the characters we've talked about, I would say Peach has the biggest change to her character. Never mind. Yeah, out of every character, for me personally, I saw the biggest change with Luigi. How he acts in Super Mario GM is incredibly different from his modern version we see nowadays. As you can see, there's no green anywhere to be found on this man. He more so rocks a beige and navy blue color combination, so it's very different from what he wears nowadays, which is very interesting. Also, I don't know if I could sit there and say Luigi had a single strand of the cowardly, awkward demeanor he has nowadays. In this movie, he's actually more of a Mr. Krabs type character than anything, because my man had only one thing in mind.
I don't want to be a trooper. I want to be rich!
To describe Luigi, he still has that major aspect of caring for his brother and his wishes, but he also was someone that I would call opportunistic, trying to get coins and gold nuggets throughout the entire movie. In a way, he also was kind of opposite to Mario in the luck aspect, because it seems like he got the short end of the stick in a lot of different scenarios, which once again, we will talk about. Luigi also seems a lot more brash and impatient in the movie, and this is pretty much one of the only times we get to see a version of Luigi like this, which in retrospect took me quite a bit to adjust to. But don't get it twisted, he still is one of the most entertaining characters in the film for sure. So that's our main cast sorted out, but Grouper Studios had some other characters they whipped up just for this movie. No, seriously, these guys were just never seen again ever afterwards. So for the exclusive characters, we have this guy looking like Gandalf's rejected cousin. Grouper had just decided not to name the dude, so it seems that he's mainly known as the Mushroom Hermit, which sounds like a role I could play very well. The Mushroom Hermit is one of the first characters that Mario and Luigi see when they first enter the Mushroom Kingdom, where he acts as sort of a lore dump, describing what happened that led to Peach's capture, and that Mario and Luigi were the chosen ones that must save her. Then, after Mario and Luigi leave, he just disappears into these worn out mushrooms, and honestly, either he has some crazy teleporting powers, or Mario and Luigi I don't weed. Either way, this character really isn't that important, but I'll tell you who was, and that's the dog that he sent to go and monitor Mario and Luigi to act as sort of a guide, Kibidango. Now, keep in mind that Kibidango is actually a real thing, being a wagashi sweet, meaning it's a traditional Japanese snack, that's also rolled into a ball and can be put on a skewer like this. So yeah, Kibidango is an appropriate name for the little lad. Kibidango acts as sort of a mascot character, being the typical cute mascot that's all throughout the film, just to act kawaii desune. Also, what the hell is this? Now, there is one more character that Grouper added, but we'll talk about them later. For now though, gamers and gameritas, now that we set the stage, let's get into the actual plot of the movie. Hold a second. If you actually care about the spoilers to a Mario movie, I don't know why, but I'll have a link in the description below to the full thing, or you can skip to the timestamp that doesn't have me spoil the entire movie for you. So we start off with our sweaty gamer Mario playing this weird 2D platformer game on the Famicom involving some kid with a baseball bat. So while playing the game, the screen turns off and goes into another screen showing Princess Peach getting attacked by a bunch of enemies like Koopas, Bloopers, Cheep Cheeps, and
Whatever those things are! Aww.
somehow, I guess they all just decide to leave the game and into Mario's world, and after Mario looks at the
Shing! Sparkle, sparkle.
Peach then lays it all down, saying how she's being chased by Bowser and asked to hide in his place. Bowser's big ass then shows up on Mario's screen and then does a literal drive-by, capturing Peach and then returning back to their reality back through the screen. Mario tries to fight him, but he rightfully gets
This is my own private domicile and I will not be harassed.
Either way, after begging him to save her multiple times, and Mario tries to shake her out of there, Luigi comes by, laughs at him, as he should, and Mario ends up finding the necklace that she had left by accident, which he then stares at as him and Luigi are in their shop, a grocery store that seems like it's located in the middle of a desert of some sort. Why? My vote's on the judicial branch, personally. Luigi then gets concerned after a customer storms off, and Mario gives her a broom and asks him what's wrong, until he notices a necklace that was left by Peach and identifies it as, quote, a mystical gem from Toad legend that has been passed down since long ago. Apparently this gem takes you to a land of treasure, where there's doubloons galore. Mario calls directory assistance and asks for help, which sends a messenger, Kibidango, who takes the gem for the bros to chase after. Kibidango brings him to a pipe, which then leads him to the land of treasure, and are greeted by the mushroom hermit man dude thing person. I don't know what you are. He then tells them about Bowser and how he kidnapped Princess Peach because she turned out his marriage proposal. After getting relayed this information, Mario gets depressed for a little bit, which then cuts to the Toads being attacked, which by the way, this will be pretty apparent as we continue, but there's a lot of girl Toads in this, which I guess was the depiction of the Toads that Masami saw would fit the best. It's just strange because Toads nowadays, even as recent as the Mario movie, are portrayed more male-centric, so it's weird seeing the majority of Toads we see in this movie as female. Just a detail I found funny. Anyway, Mushroom Hermit goes into the lore dump, talking about how Bowser turned the citizens into different items, which makes sense because canonically, that's what happens in the original Super Mario Bros. According to the menu. Now it's up to the two lads to fix it by saving Peach and restoring the kingdom back to its original state. Why does the weird old dude think this? Well, apparently there's a legend about this exact scenario, stating the following. Close enough. Lastly, just to put the icing on the cake, he says that Bowser is planning to forcibly marry Peach on the next Friday the 13th, which gets Mario so riled up that he puts on a sombrero. What is going on? Apparently, in order to take down Big Boy Bowser, the bros need to collect 3 different power-ups that give them the strength needed to succeed. They have to find a mushroom, a fire flower, and a star. Now, after the first montage of many that's going to be pointed out, we then get to it being nighttime, where Mario and Kibidango are asleep. Meanwhile, Luigi's trying to figure out what he can chow down on, almost thinking of eating Kibidango. The dude's name is literally Kibidango, so I don't really blame him. 2 Goombas show up and then lead Luigi to a garden filled with mushrooms. Sadly though, apparently the mushroom he eats have some interesting side effects. Mario mentions how there's different types, and apparently Luigi ate the laughing shrooms at first, then ate the crying shrooms, and then got fed the anger shrooms. My question is though, how does Mario know this if this is his first time at the Land of Treasure? And if he knew and identified the colors of the mushrooms, how did he even feed him the wrong mushroom? You know what? It's just better if we don't question and move on. So this transitions to Mario getting caught randomly by a paratroopa mother, who swoops in and grabs Mario so she can feed him to her children, but then just ends up also being a child that the paratroopa now has. Then, after tasting his brother, Just gonna let that one sink in. Mario and the others see the first legendary power-up out of 3, the mushroom. When he ends up grabbing it, a ton of coins just start spilling out and falling to the ground. Then, when Luigi finds one of the gold coins, they actually transform into a few of the Toad girls that ended up getting changed because of Bowser's magic. One of them, the oddly tall one, being Peach's maid, thanks Mario and gives him the mushroom power-up. Then we get into another incredible montage and Mario can just suddenly kick bullet bills now with no problem. The gang end up running into the 2 Goombas, who at this point are giving Team Rocket a run for their money and being able to find these dudes wherever they go. At this point, Mario and Luigi hadn't unlocked their street smart skill yet, so they still couldn't sense any type of malice from these guys. So they end up asking the 2 where to go, and they point them to the flower garden, of course. And after sniffing the flowers residing there, they decide that they both want to sleep and take a nap. I don't know if that's a side effect from sniffing the piranha plants or not, but go off, I guess. And yeah, you heard me right. Turns out the flowers weren't actually flowers, but piranha plants the entire time. And after they decide to reveal that fact to Mario and Luigi, the plants attack them with swiftness. Somehow, Mario just had Pepper equipped in his inventory the whole time. Come on, guys. Y'all don't carry Pepper with you no matter where you guys go? Because I definitely got one strapped on me at all times.
Hey, Blazing Bacon. So do you know where the bathroom is? Because, like, you know, I'm just a hand, so I can't really see anything that much. I really need to go. And I know you're kind of new to this job. I've been here for a long time. But, like, I've always... Wait, what are you doing? Hey, stop!
The lads manage to run away and get the piranha plants tangled up with each other. And you would think that's where it ends, but nope, not yet. Apparently those piranha plants were owned by this Lakitu here, who intended on luring them there to feed the plants, even though it was the Goombas that did that, but okay, take the credit. He then throws some spike balls down, and with a bunch of he causes these giant spinies to open up. Then, just because Mario's just that guy, he has a vine conjure up out of nowhere. The plant grows up to the Lakitu and Mario catches him to scuffle for a bit until he grabs a piece of his cloud as he was running away. He decides to replicate what Lakitu was doing by adding sunlight and water, but also adds a crap ton of snow everywhere for some reason, which I guess makes the Spinies hibernate. Then the sun comes out and flowers start magically appearing out of nowhere, and I guess that one piece of the Lakitu's cloud that Mario grabbed just so happened to be the exact one which spawned the Toad to give Mario the Fire Flower power-up. Yeah, it's just a little contrived, but you know, let's just rock with it. How is this even possible? Isn't this the first time he entered the Land of Treasure in the first place? If Mario's that popular, why does he run some rinky-dink ass grocery store? What's going on here? Well, I'll tell you. Throughout the rest of the film, this and one other scene are present where Mario products were randomly promoted just out of nowhere. This is because throughout the development of the movie, it was decided that the movie would also have some merchandise tie-ins to help promote it, like various phones, watches, and cameras. This one in particular was an advertisement for Mario Bros branded ramen created by MiHoYo Foods. Anyways, let's get back into the movie. After Mario shills his own brand off to the 8 people that were in the theater, the Goombas come back and this time lure the lads with coins that they throw out, in which Mario and Luigi follow towards the cave. The bros end up getting trapped in an actual gold mine when a conveniently placed boulder falls in the entrance hole, blocking them from getting out. It's then revealed that... no way. The Goombas were working for Bowser the entire time? What the hell? Oh my gosh. No. No. No.
Thousands of tears later.
Okay. I think I'm ready. I can't believe it, man. It's gonna be hard, but I'll get back to the review. Hold on. They also apparently hire this hammer bro to guard them so that the 2 don't escape. While they're stuck there, we cut to Peach talking with Bowser about the completely consensual wedding. She actually pulls some really good trickery and somehow convinced him to turn into a teddy bear and traps him in a box for like 3 seconds until he gets out relatively easily. One wet dream about Peach later, and we return back to the brothers, where Luigi actually does some cool shit and digs out the cage. They escape successfully, but not without the hammer bro noticing them and throwing hammers to try and stop them. But unfortunately, Mr. Master Hammer Thrower here had like like 8 attempts before actually somewhat stopping them. I mean, he didn't even hit them. Now, apparently, as Luigi was digging up the rocks, the star power was actually one of the things that he found. And as Luigi throws out the rocks, the star power drops out of his backpack and falls into the water, to where Mario, Kibidango, and Luigi end up jumping to get it. Then why did you jump? After running into an angler, a giant ass Cheep Cheep, and then an oyster that had the star on there, they finally retrieved the glittering star of invincibility and ride away on this busted ass ship that could somehow just ride in the sky. And now, with 3 power-ups in hand, we finally move on to the final stages of the movie, crashing Bowser's wedding. Peach then forcefully comes out, and the wedding ceremony then begins. But right before it solidifies with Peach agreeing to marry him, Mario, the gracious knight he is, comes through in the airship.
Oh my.
Mario and Kibidango end up going through a secret path and meet once again with the Goomba twins. Through, once again, lucky means, Mario escapes the Goomba's fire traps via a water system that Luigi taps into. This destroys Bowser's castle completely, setting the stage for the final obstacle for Mario to save Peach. Bowser starts off by beating his ass pretty convincingly, but then Mario finally uses the 3 power-ups he had, going for the mushroom, then the flower, then finally eats the Oh, come on, that wasn't even well played. Mario drops a star in a hole, and just when it looks bleak and Bowser's literally about to win, Luigi springs up and gives Mario the invincible star. Mario then powers up and completely turns the tables, using his newfound skills to completely overpower Bowser and throws him into the sky. Keep in mind, this was a whole 10 years before Mario 64, and that's how he finished him off. Who really did it first? With Bowser finally gone and waving the white flag, the sun comes out as Peach gives Mario the recognition of becoming the hero he was meant to be this entire time. And when I say that, I mean he then gets completely blue-balled at the last second by Kibidango. Yeah, I'm not kidding. It turns out that the gem Mario had been carrying the entire time for Peach has its power being used on Kibidango and turns him into the final grouper exclusive character that I didn't talk about for this moment. Kibidango was actually Prince Haru of the neighboring Flower Kingdom. Apparently on his way to visit Peach, he got turned into a dog by Bowser's magic. And he carried a very similar gem on his person. And because of that, it actually makes him the one destined to marry Peach, because his gem and Peach's gem are matching, thus meaning that they were destined to be together. Mario states he's not mad at this arrangement and that her happiness is his happiness. Then Mario and Luigi run back to their own world as a mushroom guy returns saying that courage was the true power, some BS like that, I don't know. And scene. Oh yeah, and also Bowser apparently works for them now too at the very end. So that was the movie, and I would definitely say it was quite the ride to say the least. Now you're probably asking yourself, why would I go through the entire movie like this besides me wanting to pad out the video, you may be asking? Well, that's because while the movie is incredibly obscure in the grand scheme of things, it actually includes quite a noticeable amount of aspects that Nintendo would go ahead and put into future Mario titles. It's like the clairvoyant of the Super Mario Bros. Franchise. But that's not why you're here, I know. The biggest and, in my opinion, the most interesting prediction and the inspiration for this video is the odd similarities it has with the 2023 Super Mario movie, an entire 37 years later. That's like at least 10 years ago. Now, you may be thinking that, oh, this is a stretch, man, and you're just exaggerating the topic, like, just because, dude. You're such a loser, man. Like, actually, like, your videos aren't even that good. First of all, that last part is correct, but you didn't have to say that out loud. And guys, I just want to talk about the Forgotten Anime movie, alright? And look at the comparison. So, can we all just relax? But I won't lie to you, though. I'm going to stretch the hell out of these comparisons. Now, I know 5 seconds ago I said I was going to stretch things, but I also don't want to say things like, oh, they both utilize Mario music, or, oh, they both stop at a sandy location at some point in a montage. I'll at least try to have some convincing similarities that you would possibly get behind. Now, one of the main comparisons that you may notice between Super Mario GM and the Super Mario movie is the completely consensual wedding that Bowser has with Peach in both movies. But I would personally say this is more based on the overall story concept of Super Mario Odyssey, where Mario had to show up to save Bowser from marrying Peach, with them even wearing the same outfits from that game. So that was most likely Odyssey inspired, but one thing I found weirdly similar between both films is the portrayal of Bowser. Remember when I said back when I was recapping Super Mario GM that Bowser starts out the movie very serious and then ends up being very goofy throughout the majority of the movie? Sound familiar? Bowser's reveal of his personality in the Super Mario movie is pretty much one-to-one how it is in Super Mario GM, where the movie starts out with him being more threatening and vicious, then pretty goofy when his love for Peach gets involved, then back to being more threatening when Mario rolls through to stop the wedding, and towards the climax of the movie. And speaking of, that was another thing that was eerily similar when I watched both films. So, watch this, right? Mario and Bowser meet to fight for Princess Peach after Bowser's castle gets completely decimated, where at first Bowser beats the hell out of Mario and it looks pretty bleak. Mario's on his last legs, barely being able to move, when Luigi comes in a clutch save with a star for Mario to power up. Then afterwards, Mario uses said power to storm through and beat Bowser with a barrage of different attacks. One of those attacks being the iconic move where Mario spins Bowser around and throws him in the air. Now I want you to tell me which of the two movies I was describing. Oh wait! You'll be right if you said either one, because that, my friends, is how similar the ending battle was. Now, obviously, there are a few differences between the two fights. Like in the Super Mario movie, it was both Mario and Luigi that were tag teaming Bowser, where in Super Mario GM, it was Mario alone that bodied him. Or the fact that in Super Mario GM, Mario finished with the spinning move, and in the 2023 movie, it was more of a punch that finished him off. And also in the 2023 movie, Mario more so got up from when he crashed in the Punch-Out restaurant and saw the commercial that him and Luigi filmed together. But my point still stands where the overall story beats were very similar. Another similarity between both films, and this is one that also freaked me out when I first saw it, was the pipe scene. In fact, the pipe system in general was pretty much the same in terms of how it works, where when you enter it, it literally takes you to another dimension, which is also another similarity, but I'll talk about that in a bit. The way they even travel in the pipe was similar as well, and both even have the rainbow background as they travel. I won't hold you guys, when I first saw that in Super Mario GM, I practically created a sharp noise by exporting air from my lungs. The films also have the concept of there being two different realities, and depict Mario as more of an average Joe that gets stronger as he traverses through the Mushroom Kingdom reality. Speaking of Mario, both also act as origin stories of Mario going to the Mushroom Kingdom for the first time, but I would say that's more of a weaker point because it's not like that premise is extremely original or anything. Montages are also a thing that's shared between both movies, where Super Mario GM has 3 different montages, or if you count the airship, but I really don't count that personally. The 2023 movie, on the other hand, has just one giant montage where Mario, Peach, and Toad go through a bunch of different areas in one fell swoop. A weaker connection, I know, but let's throw in a better one. And that, my friends, is the power-ups. Now, we already know about the power-up legend in Super Mario GM, and if I'm honest, the 2023 Mario movie has something very similar, though it was only the Invincible star that got that legendary power-up status, with it getting treated as more legendary as well, ultimately portraying it as a big deal. I mean, Bowser was gonna give that to Peach for a gift. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. As with the Fireflower and Mushroom, they were not treated with the same amount of legendary status, but both did get quite a bit of screen time, though that's probably because both are staples in the Mario universe, but hey, we're already stretching here, so I'm just gonna go with it. In both movies, there was also a point where the realities between Mario's world and the Mushroom Kingdom world collided with each other, leading to an important plot point. But the funny thing was that it was at completely opposite points of the movie. In Super Mario GM, it was at the very beginning of the film, with it leading to Mario meeting Peach and her explaining that she needs him to save her, giving Mario a motive to go to the Mushroom Kingdom. Whereas in the 2023 movie, the realities merged towards the end, with that leading to the climax, aka the final battle with Mario and Bowser, and also so that the parents can watch as their son beats up the funny turtle guy. Now, if you guys looked at everything I've just outlined to you guys and think that none of what I said was convincing, remember that Illumination wasn't the only participants in the making of the 2023 Mario movie. Nintendo, and more importantly, Miyamoto himself, oversaw the movie throughout the whole process, and seemed to make quite a few suggestions that Illumination would 100% take into consideration. For example, it was revealed that Miyamoto encouraged Illumination to make it so that Mario didn't like mushrooms, something that was constantly brought up throughout the movie. So with that, who's to say Miyamoto didn't look back at old Mario media to get some inspiration, more specifically Super Mario GM, and take some plot points that he found interesting and had Illumination apply them to the 2023 Mario movie, just remixed. Look. Put the pitchforks down. I warned you guys this was going to be a huge stretch, alright? Just let me live. I mean, even look at Super Mario Wonder and its reference to the Flower Kingdom, which is the kingdom that Prince Haru ruled over in the film. Hey Mario fans, we might be getting that Haru comeback. Yo, how y'all feel about it? Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know it was a sensitive topic, alright? I'm sorry! Overall, Super Mario The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach was a forgotten movie that ended up being something that not only predicted a whole list of things that will be present in the video games years later, but also had some plot points that 37 years later would be similar to one of the highest grossing video game movies ever. Quite the underdog story if you ask me. While it seems that people who know about this movie appreciate it for the historical value alone, with even a petition being made for Nintendo to release Super Mario GM internationally, unfortunately though, it doesn't look like we'll ever get an official release of this film. Nintendo clearly is focused on bigger and better things now, and even the voice actor for Mario, Toru Furuya, has said in an interview that there wouldn't be any re-releases of any of the Super Mario anime films. But there is a happy ending to this story, fellow gamers and gameritas. Flash forward to April 16th of 2022, and the movie miraculously had a 4K restoration that was released on YouTube for free by Kaneko Video, which, according to them, came from a 16mm reduction print that was released by another restoring creator, Carnival, back in 2016. This was also the version of the movie that I used throughout the entirety of this video, so special shoutouts to Kaneko Video for the amazing release of the film. You guys pulled off an amazing job. Because this movie is more obscure than the 1993 version, I was more so expecting just talking about an obscure piece of Mario history and that was it. What I wasn't expecting was to go in and learn just how much influence this movie that came out in 1996 had on Mario media in the future. And with such wide access to the film now that it's on YouTube for free, people have the ability to watch this pretty much whenever they want. And with the 2023 Mario movie doing so well, with it having a guaranteed trilogy in the works, and even the possibility to dabble into other franchises like The Legend of Zelda, it seems like the future of Nintendo movies is looking bright. And we have this movie to thank for starting it off in the first place. Thank you guys so much for watching. And with all that being said, you can put your spatulas down now, but keep it sizzling, my Baconators.